Last week on Gleeboot, Will sang Blurred Lines with a bunch of twerking teenagers. Rachel and Kurt drank limoncello very publicly, despite being underage. And Marley found out Jake was cheating on her with Bree. And she sang Wrecking Ball in what looked like a Muppets version of the song Wrecking Ball. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
Gleeboot.
Yeah. I kind of forgot all of that had happened. Something I didn't forget, though, I think for the first time ever, we have to make a corrections on the podcast.
This isn't the first time we have to make corrections. It might be the first time we're actually making corrections.
Yeah, that's probably true. So we're making Gleeboot history. So last week, I got correctly that Bette Midler was the main witch in Hocus Pocus. However, I often get her and Joy Behar mixed up. And I also said that Bette Midler was a co-host of The View, and I don't think she has ever been a co-host of The View. It's Joy Behar. So yeah, super sorry, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Just
all the Joy Behar stands are like, erasure.
How dare she? Bette Midler could never. I honestly don't know how anyone could ever be a host of that show. But anywho.
Thank you for the correction, Hannah.
Thank you.
You know what? Upstanding. I try to be honest with others and myself. I cannot wait to talk about what we're drinking because it looks like you're drinking a tiny thing of mustard, Alyssa.
Mustard? Gross.
I know. It literally it reminds me of a little tiny thing of mustard. But guys, you also have to wait 5 minutes.
So welcome back to Gleeboot, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee one episode at a time. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we have a very special guest, the host of the podcast Taboo Topics and the star of one of the favorite pictures I have of myself, Rebekah Thomas.
Oh my God.
Hello. I don't know what picture you're talking about, but if it's the one I shared 2 weeks ago, then I also really love that picture.
Is it the one of you, me, and Annie at the
Meadowbrook Ball? Heck yes.
It's a great picture of all of us.
We all look so good. Well, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Yeah, Cullen and I went to college together, and I know almost nothing about Glee except for this episode that I watched. So,
yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yes.
This is a very mild episode.
I watched the first episode of the very first season, which I noticed almost none of those people were there except for them. They made cameo appearances.
Yes.
But then they sang Bohemian Rhapsody and I couldn't get into it and I stopped watching it entirely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody was the thing that kicked you out of the show.
Quinn gave birth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
What episode was that?
That was the finale of season 1.
Oh, was it? I made it all the way through season 1. Good for me.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. I was gonna say I would have stopped at the Acapellas episode when they were singing "Poison" by Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you made it all the way through the end of season 1.
I took the Queen song kind of personally, so I don't know.
That's valid.
Yeah. But anyways, now I'm here, so.
Yeah, so that's our question of the relationship with Glee. You kind of summarized that. So I guess what are we drinking today?
I guess I'll go first and let you know it is in fact not mustard. It is a tiny little bottle of Bailey's Irish cream. It's just straight up Bailey's. And did you know it's 17% alcohol?
Wow. Is that normal for Bailey's in general?
I think
Bailey's is strong, yeah.
Yeah, it's a liqueur. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just drinking it straight from the bottle because when can you do that with Bailey's? Only when you have the tiny little tiny bottles.
So, you could drink it from the big bottle.
No one's stopping you. I'm not going to stop you.
No one is, but that doesn't sound good to me. Which is dumb because it tastes the same.
From my angle, just the black part, top of the wrapper, and then the bottom looks like yellow or orange mustard. And so I was just what is that? But as soon as you said Bailey's, it's oh, that makes sense.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I want to say this is maybe 2 or 3 ounces.
It's a little teeny.
Yeah.
I mean, mustard would be the weirdest thing Alyssa has drank on the podcast, but she did drink maple syrup that one time.
Hey, listen, maple syrup is infinitely better than mustard. No question.
Yeah, I mean, I would second that.
Yeah. Hannah, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Topo Chico hard seltzer, pineapple, except it's exotic pineapple. I don't know what makes it exotic.
Ooh, like the pink pineapple that people pay a lot of money for.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe actually. It doesn't have any color though to it. This is 12 fluid ounces or 355 milliliters for people across the pond or scientists. And it is 4.7% alcohol. So I'm boring.
I didn't know they made Topo Chico hard things. But
yeah,
okay.
It's new. It's expensive. So be prepared if you want to get it.
Good to know.
Rebekah, what are you drinking today?
I have a Shorts mule beer. So it's literally brewed with lime and ginger. So it's kind of like a beer version of a Moscow Mule.
I love that.
Yeah,
idea.
it's really
good. Yeah.
Honestly, it's super good. If you get a can, the cans are actually copper, which is cute, like the little mugs.
Oh.
It is 4.5% alcohol by volume. I don't see any sort of measurings here, though. But it's brewed and bottled by Shorts Brewing Company in Elk Rapids, Michigan. So,
wait, guys,
mine
isn't
really
in ounces. It says 100 milliliters.
oh, mine is in ounces. Just kidding. I found it.
So that's like 4 ounces, 3 ounces.
I don't know.
Because I'm looking, I was like, if this is 355 milliliters and it's 12 fluid ounces, I don't know, math.
I'm having a virgin rum and Coke.
Oh, just Coke.
Coke in a glass bottle. I just was like thinking, it is 1 o'clock here in Los Angeles, and I was thinking, like, do I want alcohol in my body? And I was like, no.
Also, you just came back from the gym. I feel like alcohol right after the gym just sounds like a bad idea.
Feels counterproductive.
Oh my gosh, you just spilled.
No, oh man.
All right, just a second.
Elevator music.
Was it the mini Baileys?
It was the mini Baileys.
No.
That dramatic gasp, though.
So while Alyssa is mopping this up, Rebekah, what are your Glee quiz results?
Oh yeah, okay. So my Glee boyfriend was Sam Evans, which I feel like I'll touch on later because Sam plays a role in this episode. And I have some questions before I accept this as an answer.
Okay.
So yeah. Which Glee character am I? I got Finn, and I don't know how to feel about that. So
I mean, Finn is probably one of my favorite characters.
I remember really liking him.
Mm-hmm.
He has some bad moments, but like it's Glee, like everyone's a war criminal, so like.
But like overall, he's pretty okay.
Yeah.
He's usually trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can deal. It says I'm a kind person and a leader. People find it easy to confide in you and reach out for help.
Yeah, because you made like a noise when you finished the quiz, and I was like, oh, I hope you didn't get Rachel.
I think it's more so because like I know what happened to the actor in real life, and I just got all sad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that affected all of us, even if we didn't watch Glee.
Yeah, for real.
And honestly, it kind of casts like a pall over the show, especially at this season, at this point. Like,
yeah.
Someone actually asked me the other day, a coworker was like, do you think the Glee cast was cursed? And I was like, no, but do I think there might have been a toxic environment on set that caused a lot of problems? Yes.
Yeah, because it's not the first Glee scandal, you know? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best assessment is that like the curse seems very like supernatural.
Yeah.
But there's a very real life explanation for some things that may have gone on. And then I just think that like other stuff that happened to different actors is more so just like a consequence of like who they were as a person.
And even like, I mean, with Naya Rivera, it was just like a total accident, you know?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
She was swimming, you know, like.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the curse, maybe not.
Yeah. So today, before we get started, so our new segment, our Marry, Smash, Kill teen drama trope characters. So this week we're doing unjustly sidelined Black characters.
Unjustly sidelined Black characters. Okay.
So we have Mercedes from Glee.
Of course.
Josie from Riverdale. And Bonnie from Vampire Diaries.
Oh, okay. Weirdly enough, I have an opinion on that, but only based on stuff that I remember my cousin who watched the show telling me 800 years ago when the show was still running. Who was the other one?
Josie from Riverdale. She was Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh. I didn't
She would
realize
sing, but they never really gave her storyline. So I would marry Mercedes because she is a very good person and like pretty normal and well-rounded. I would have sex with Josie because, I mean, she's cool, I guess. And Bonnie is a witch, and sometimes that might be scary. So I guess I'm going to murder her.
I was going to ask if she's a vampire. I know nothing about the other two.
I've watched Jenny Nicholson's 2-hour The Vampire Diaries video where she like unpacks like just the show, and she also brings up like the racism, like how it's like in a Confederate town and they do all those Confederate reenactments, and Bonnie's just there just like, great.
Apparently Bonnie is a protagonist. Okay, this is what the fandom vampirediaries.fandom.com wiki describes her as: a protagonist, the second main female character, the supporting protagonist and the narrator, and a quadragonist. I didn't realize that was a thing. We're going to have to run that one by Scott and see what he thinks. A quadragonist. I'm going to marry Bonnie because she's a witch. I guess I'll have to kill Josie because I don't really know a lot about her, unfortunately. I guess I'm smashing Mercedes. Yeah.
I'm going to marry Mercedes, and I'm going to fuck Bonnie, I think. As a witch, she could bring a lot to the bedroom.
Yeah,
true. That's a good
valid
point.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know Josie that well. I'm sorry, Josie. You're going to get murdered because I don't know you. I don't know Bonnie either, but at least she's a witch.
Okay, I don't know any of these characters at all. So based on the last 2 minutes of context, I'm going to go against what I would probably say in real life because I like nice people, but I'm going to kill Mercedes. But that's purely because I kind of want to marry a witch. Like, it would, in my mind, I think of like Molly Weasley, right? And like you just flick your wand and things get like cooked and stuff. Like that is convenience. And I need that kind of time saving in my life. I'm gonna smash Josie though because I feel like I kind of like the whole pussycat thing. I don't know, I feel like it's a little spicy, so yeah, that's my answer.
All right,
very nice.
And we will put it to the listeners and see what they think. We just got our results on our jock poll in the Katie or Gaga episode. Sam came first, Archie came in second, and no votes for Nate Jacobs.
Wait, first and second, as in marry and then fuck?
Well, like, because of the way Instagram polls work, I just said, who would you marry?
Oh, I see.
Got it.
So, yeah.
I think it's pretty safe to say, based on our conversation during that episode, that everyone would either marry or fuck Sam. So, and also the other one, but the guy from Euphoria was definitely going to die. What was he? What did I say he was? He was
an
a
emotional terrorist.
Yeah, like that person not going to make
kitty
it.
Energy, yeah. Okay, so let's get into the episode. So this week we're talking about season 5, episode 6. Moving Out, the Billy Joel tribute. I'll say it before and I said it again, not a big Billy Joel fan.
I love Billy Joel, but I don't think it makes sense to have a tribute episode in Glee based on how they used him, because it simply doesn't make sense. And then literally like at the end, Sam mentioned something about Billy Joel that kind of just like doesn't go with the story at all. And I'm like, why is Billy Joel here?
And I was looking at like the Wikipedia articles and stuff, and they're like, Billy Joel was happy that they're exposing his music to younger people. And I was like, Billy Joel was happy for that paycheck.
Yeah. And then the subsequent paychecks that came from people finding Billy Joel's music on iTunes and downloading it from there, purchasing, etc.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
The musical numbers feel extra shoehorned in this week. Like I gagged multiple times just because like they're always a little shoehorned in Glee, but like they're just like, oh, we're gonna sing a song. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Rebekah is nodding her head.
I didn't know if that was the norm, right? Like I remember watching Glee. I do not remember there being that much music in one episode, and then just having the songs completely like the relatability was quite a stretch. In a lot of them, and I was just like,
this episode, like there have definitely been episodes that had a lot of songs, but they felt more organically part of the story. None of these songs really made sense in the story. I'm trying to think of one that did. Maybe Jake's.
The My Life.
Because that makes sense for him to sing a song in Glee Club that expresses his feelings. I guess Ryder's, but I didn't like Ryder's at all.
No, hard pass.
So I think Jake's makes
sense.
The most sense, but his song, also that situation in general, just didn't really make sense.
Yeah,
so.
just I'm gonna do this.
Yeah,
I
very much disliked that whole Ryder thing. Like, learn boundaries, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Sue like straight up points out at the end of the episode, like she has a fit because of all the songs that were shoehorned. And I was like, okay, if we're getting a little bit meta here, like, I'm glad you saw this was happening, but why didn't you stop it?
Yeah, she literally says like, oh God, you're going to punctuate your lesson with a song. I was like, meta.
Yeah, and again, not a big Billy Joel fan, but I love the song Piano Man. I mean, it's a classic. What a waste of a really like emotional song that like could mean a lot that just was used like for nothing. This is the biggest waste since Smash Waste Kelly Clarkson's Breakaway.
Yeah, that is a reference only 2 of us understand. Rebekah, have you seen Smash?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So only 2 of us understand. It's correct. Also, I just hated that. I hate this diner. I hate everything about it. I keep praying that I'm never going to see it again, but I've seen like stills from future episodes and I know I'm going to keep seeing it.
I'm assuming it's like the graduates have moved to New York and are trying to make it big and are working at a spoof of like Rosie's Starlight Diner, right?
Yes. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So like the diner didn't really bother me because that's like a real thing, you know, like that's a New York City thing where they do that stuff. Everything else bothered me.
I think it was honestly the fact that it was these people and this diner and this show specifically that I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
I remember when I went to New York, I was visiting Elliot, who was on for the makeover episode where they said you're not a real New Yorker until you've had a makeover.
And he was like, absolutely, that's 100,000% true.
When we were walking by, he's like, if you want to go to that diner, you can go, but I will not go with you. Okay, so usually we start in New York, but I feel like New York is actually like the main storyline this week. So let's save that. Let's start with
the love triangle, the cursed love triangle.
Yeah, the cursed love triangle.
Just get it out of the way, rip it off like a band-aid.
Is this the Ryder, Marley, Jake love triangle?
Yeah,
correct.
All I want is for Jake and Ryder to have sex, and I know they won't.
Yeah, I didn't get that vibe.
Because it would just be more interesting than them constantly harassing this poor girl. And we are going to talk about this episode, how at the end of the day, Glee Club has not been a positive experience for Marley.
No, and honestly, like her mom hearing this, presumably her mom also heard about how Mr. Shu suspended her for not wearing a tardy bikini.
You would think.
So why is her mom like letting her still do this, or not being like, hey, I think this is really bad for your mental health. You're probably still in therapy for your eating disorder. Like, what does your therapist think?
I feel there was definitely some references to things that I did not know happened that are now opening my eyes to things.
Has been through the ringer, and yet she shows up day after day with a smile on her face. She is such a trooper.
I kind of want to watch this now.
You mentioned
okay. Well, you mentioned the thing with her mom, and I don't know if like this. This is just me being the person like how everything was crazy, and she was like, "This is so schizo." Does anyone in this series have schizophrenia, or are we just like making microaggressions and stuff?
That was definitely a microaggression.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
That was like, oh yikes, we're gonna
exceptionally dated this particular episode.
Okay, yeah. That's not that dated though, you know?
Yeah, it's I would love to say
sure it dated the episode or dated the writers, you know?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Shout out to my coworker who called all non-binary people schizos. Hated her.
I didn't even know people use the word schizo in terms like that, but like maybe, I don't know.
Maybe people who don't understand how the world works do.
Fair, good point.
Well, they used to, right? Because it was like synonymous with the word crazy, but people didn't actually, it's not anymore. Don't use it like that.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't planning on it.
Now the world is kind of like, oh, okay, like schizophrenia is like definitely like a total different thing. Like it's not a thing that we can just use as like a slur. Again, it's that weird thing that was like, I never thought representation could feel like being called a slur. I kept thinking about that literally the past like 2 weeks since Kayla's been on. Glee is horrible, but it's great.
We're sticking with it.
We made it this far.
Yep.
I can't stop now.
See, I thought that this was going to be a podcast full of people that love Glee, and then I'm just going to talk about.
See, I'm really glad that we don't prep anyone for that unless they know us.
And I'm really sorry that
already.
I haven't listened to Gleeboot before.
That's totally okay. But if you want to hear about the stuff with Marley, like maybe we could give you like a couple episodes of our podcast to listen to.
Oh yeah, no, I actually kind of want to go back and listen to all of them. This is really exciting for me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. It's almost like you should listen to it as a commentary while you're watching these episodes.
Oh, for sure.
That would be awesome.
We recommend it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, like Glee, I hate it, yet it's also maybe one of my favorite shows. I really don't know. I have a very complicated relationship with this show.
Yeah. There are often small moments that I'm like, I think it was Kayla who also said this. I think Kayla's a genius. I think she was the one who said that, like, by the time you get to the end of the episode and you're at that final song, it kind of tricks you into being like, I could watch another one. Like, this is emotionally satisfying in a way. And it's those like little moments that trick me. And then I'm like, no, this is horrible.
Yeah, like there were some good intentions. There were some good, like, interesting moments. Like, I think it's definitely like a big part of like television history. And like, so like there's part of that will always have a fondness and like love it for what it was trying to be, but not always for what it was.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because like I mean, they have so much representation, and I think that's awesome, right? Like, you don't see that in every show, but then you just like the schizo comment, and like Sam later on like makes some microaggressions, but I think that was on purpose. But I don't know if that's his character. He was just trying not to get into college, and that's why I don't want to date him, because I wouldn't date someone like that.
Yeah, we'll have to dig into that, because that scene was fucking
horrible.
Bananas.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. I do just want to say everyone on Glee is racist. Pretty much, like, because
if it's not all the time, it's sometimes.
Like all the Asian jokes, all the times Brittany can't tell Unique and Mercedes apart.
What?
Yeah. There's some major issues.
Yeah.
What? I'm just shocked. Like, I just always thought Glee was like Glee, you know, like not like a comedy made in the 90s.
It's basically a comedy made in the 90s, but produced in the 2010s.
Yeah.
I would say it wasn't much better than what else was airing at the time.
No.
Like you'd probably see similar jokes in Community and The Office, and even sometimes in Parks and Rec, you know, like shows that we love. But
sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this love triangle. So Marley opens her locker and there are all these roses. And Jake is like, I'm sorry. And she's like, for breaking into my locker.
Yeah, she
like,
lets
kicks
the
the
roses.
roses.
Yeah, they fall out of her locker and she kicks them away. I felt that moment. I was like, yeah.
I would
Are
do
you
the same
kidding
thing.
me? Once again, with flowers, guys getting women flowers. You stuff a bunch of, what are you supposed to do with a bunch of roses? What is that? You're
like,
just
you
making
can't-
my life more difficult.
It's not convenient. And also, like, I feel like a really big breach of trust just happened, because like now she's gonna have to be like, great, I have to go to like the janitor and tell him to change my locker combination to reset it, because I need a new one. Like, I don't trust you.
Yeah. And so he's like, I've changed. I'm a different person. And then she's like, no, you're the same person you always were.
Yeah, because because he's saying sorry, he literally revenge slept with Bree because he was mad that Marley wouldn't put out. Like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just change after 2 or 3 days of sulking and telling her you're sorry.
And we will explain maybe some of the reasons for Jake's character assassination by the writers. Because he had kind of changed in like season 4.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the storyline and we'll talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff. So then Ryder is like mad at Jake. He's like, how could you ruin one of the best things that ever happened to you? And Jake's like, it's none of your business. And he starts like lifting weights and singing, It's My Life.
I mean, okay, Jake does have a point that like it is none of Ryder's business. But I feel like because Ryder is clearly not trying to stand up for Marley, he's really just like trying to tell Jake off, and then also trying to make himself high and mighty.
That's the reason why I really hated the scene, was because he wasn't upset because Jake hurt Marley. He was upset because Jake ruined a good thing for himself. And I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Well, because they basically decided, okay, you get Marley and you get this dance solo during
Yes,
Gangnam
Marley's
Style.
not a person.
No,
She's
she's a
not.
prize to be won.
Yes, and this becomes extremely evident throughout the rest of this storyline as well.
Yeah, Ryder has major nice guy syndrome.
I hate Ryder. So,
Yeah. He's the worst. One of the worst.
And so then Jake sings It's My Life. He does a lot of slow-mo jumping. And I'm like, just imagine sitting in this choir room and he's singing this Billy Joel song and just like flipping around.
Yeah, it was really distracting from the whole point of why he's singing it. I think maybe that was the point. He was like, they can't see my feelings if I do a flip. Like, but also, he's in the boys' locker room, he's in the choir room, then he's in the girls' locker room singing because there's girls that pop out of the showers. They're like dancing in towels.
Towels.
So I was like, you're not supposed to be in there.
Yeah, I was kind of astonished at that scene. Every time I'm like, why am I surprised that this is happening?
Well,
That's again, I'm like, why am I surprised? But I'm still screaming about it.
Yes.
It's like they're just trying to like make the musical numbers more interesting and like fill in airtime. So they just come up with these weird dances.
I guess.
That was something else I noticed is that like there are quite a few songs, but they do almost the whole versions of each song.
Yeah.
And it's like, that means there's like, what, like 12 minutes just of music. So the episode itself is like 30 minutes of content.
Yeah, the one with this song, like they had it in a bunch of different locations, but when he was in the choir room, he was singing it to Marley, which didn't make any sense to me because he literally had just been asking for her forgiveness and she said no. And this song has nothing to do with that. Like,
yeah,
he's just like, it's my life.
Don't ask me to change.
Confused.
She literally did not ask you to change. She said that you didn't have to change.
And you also like changed for yourself to be with her.
Yeah.
Like, but also, see, that's what I was confused about. I was like, is he singing it to Marley or is he singing it to Ryder? Because Ryder is the one who set him off to sing it. So I'm like, what's the truth?
That in the choir room, he was going to be singing it more to Ryder, but that's not how it is. It's shot in a way where you see Marley's reactions and
more often.
It's more that he's singing it to her, which doesn't make sense. It's just like a bad decision, cinematography wise.
Yeah. I just thought it was I just didn't like it. Like he stands on the piano and it was just really weird. Yeah, not a fan. So then Marley, the scene where she calls everything schizo, she's like in the kitchen with her mom, Millie. This is Millie's last appearance. R.I.P.
I legit forgot that she
not
existed.
R.I.P. that she literally dies, but
No.
she just leaves and they never invite her back on the call sheet.
Well, I thought she was already gone. Like this was surprising for me.
Yeah. And so they're like peeling potatoes or something, and she's like, just be glad you didn't have sex with him. Like,
no, she says the phrase Humpty Hump.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a dork. I was like, it was like cute, like mom-daughter thing. But then like the rest of the conversation, I was like, oh gosh, no.
Well, like, because she was like, you can't get your first time back and make sure it's with someone special, not just someone you have feelings with, but like a good guy. I have mixed feelings because like I like get the concept of like, having sex is very intimate and you want to do it with someone who you can trust and who's going to respect you.
Right.
And like, especially when you're young and it's your first time, like that's something that's important, but also like it's tangentially connected to like the whole purity culture, like virginity thing. And yeah. And so that's like, I'm like, I get it. And I don't.
It's kind of not though, because they're literally talking about having sex.
Yeah.
So it's not that well versed in like being.
Yeah, it doesn't go all the way into that. You're right. Yeah.
But it's still kind of like, it's hinting at like wait for marriage, but not saying it. Like, it's like, wait for that special someone. And it's just like, but how are you going to know what that is?
I feel like it would be maybe better if it wasn't wait for someone, if it was be careful or something like that.
Or even if it was wait till you're comfortable.
Yeah,
wait till
you're
like
ready.
That. Like not waiting for someone else, no. But if you're the person who's in power, then it changes the dynamic of the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, like not just wait till you find someone special, but like wait till you feel comfortable and you find someone who makes you feel comfortable. Like that. I think that's a good advice to teenagers, because sometimes we do just bombard them with these sexual images and we don't really give them any advice about like that first step and like how to set up your healthy boundaries. And like Glee's certainly not going to help them with that. So like, yeah.
And like what the signs are that like you actually feel comfortable with this situation, not that like the signs of the person who you should be having sex with, more like how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
Now we're just rewriting culture. This is culture boot.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, like I thought it was like a cute scene, and like it was nice that Marley was given the like, it doesn't villainize her for not wanting to have sex the way it villainized Quinn.
Right.
So I was like, okay, like it's a step in the right direction. And then, because she's like, yeah, he's singing "It's My Life" like he's the victim. I'm like, honestly, that would be baffling. Like, I would be upset. And then Jake is like, "Go out with me," and she's like,
"No, Ryder."
Or Ryder.
Yeah.
These characters.
They're both not good.
Ryder's like, "Go out with me. I'm a good guy. I go to church. I'm getting good grades now.
I have good family values."
Yeah. He's the Adventures in Odyssey.
Oh boy. That entire like conversation with him just listing off the things about him that made him great and a conservative Christian, I was just like, oh my God.
Like a resume of conservative Christianism.
Yes. It was so jarring. It was so jarring.
So
it was one step away from being like, here are references from all of my youth pastors.
It made sense to me though, and it did feel like something a real Midwestern boy would do and say.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and it really was not far off base, honestly.
Yeah. Because there are times when these characters are much more written like they're LA teenagers than Ohio teenagers. So yeah, but then she's like, no, you know, I went through all this, like I was really hurt and I just need space, which is like very valid.
Yes.
Like
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this awkward shot, like he's looking in the mirror as he's talking to her, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna use this.
So that, speaking of shoehorned, they literally have Marley stop in front of and face away from this like set of mirrors. And so all you see is the back of Ryder's head, but you can see his face in the mirrors. And all of the while, just like little context from like the other part of the story that's happening in McKinley is that there's a career fair happening in the hallway. And I'm like, what career could this be from? I was so confused.
1700s mirror maker.
Mirror makers, yeah.
You can make the mirrors in Versailles.
Or maybe like an antique appraiser, or a dealer. Yeah. I don't know. It was so weird.
Antique.
I didn't even think about that. I literally didn't think about that. I was too focused on the fact that like, here is a boy that is not listening to a woman's wishes.
Correct. And immediately the next scene we get.
It's like not even a different scene.
No,
like, he just starts singing. There's just
he starts singing "Innocent Man."
Yeah, in public, mind you, like just not doing this in a one-on-one setting. No, let's put them on the spot so they can't refuse us.
She goes into a classroom, right?
It's the Glee room.
Right. So he's in the hallway. He starts singing, but doesn't he sing more in the hallway?
He sings in the hallway, and then he comes into the choir room, and he does this like shimmy thing, and he's like singing, and like everyone's making.
She goes into the choir room, presumably, and he just wanders the hallways for a couple minutes, singing, and then comes back. And he's like standing aggressively with his hand like this on the door frame. I was like,
yeah, he just stares at her.
But then everyone else's faces, like. There was a lot of face journeys, including Mr. Shu.
Yeah.
The reaction shots.
Yes.
How many times does someone in this club sing to someone specific? And this is the song that is like they're
that's
gonna
the song.
be weirded out by.
They weren't weirded out by the "It's My Life." Like they weren't just all like, "Okay, I think Jake needs therapy."
Like, why is this the hill that they're all gonna die on?
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Shu, you didn't do anything when Finn sang Jesse's Girl at Rachel.
Triggered.
You didn't do anything when, I don't know, like Ryder was kicking stuff at one point. Like he's so passive. And like, so the fact that like
just a little,
as far as Glee awkward song moments go, like this isn't even that high up. So the fact that I'm like, why is this the line, Mr. Shu?
Yep.
See, I'm not gonna lie, in this scene, I this was the first time I wondered if when they're singing, do other people know they're singing? Is this a dramatic moment that's like frozen in time? Like one of the ironies that the audience can see but characters don't know. I got my answer when everyone was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, it's kind of inappropriate, don't you think? Like, Jake's sitting right there, like, ooh.
Yeah, it was either that or like, wow, Marley's moved on really quickly kind of thing. I was just like, it's all going to be placed on Marley. Like how like weird this situation is about her.
Whether or not the songs are diegetic in this world is a complete mystery. It depends on the song.
Sometimes in the same exact song, depending on where they're singing, it could be diegetic or it could be non-diegetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one knows.
No one knows.
No one
Good.
knows.
Okay. Neat.
Because I think when he's in the hallway singing, it's non-diegetic. When he goes into the classroom, boom, everyone's like, whoa, he's in the middle of a song. We missed the whole first part of it. That's weird.
Yeah.
So then he asks Marley out, and
In
she's
public.
in public.
In the
Yes.
middle
In
of the
public.
class. Okay,
Yes.
also this has
With
happened
her
many
ex.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like 2 days ago.
this has happened before in the classroom, right? But this one felt particularly assaulting. After she literally just told him, no, I need some space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
and
didn't
that's
like straight out reject him, like, no, I don't like you. It was like, I need space right now.
3 minutes later, go out with me in
You
front of
had
everyone.
space. You
Yeah,
had space.
exactly. It's like the thing that happens when you're trying to force someone to marry you. So you ask them to marry you in a really public place.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I felt.
It's basically like a public
It was
proposal where you have cameras and you've got
He
the
literally
whole
gets on one
family.
knee. Like it was
Oh, he
very,
does. Yeah.
yes, he does.
No, it was just very like, for me, it was very controlling. Like you
Oh, yeah.
put your partner or your whatever in a public place so that they will obey you.
Yeah.
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 And
Like,
it's also
I know-
an affront to Jake too, who's sitting
Seriously,
right there.
and like, granted, Jake didn't do good stuff, right? Like he had revenge sex because Marley wouldn't put out or whatever, and yet I still don't dislike him as much as I dislike Ryder.
Yeah, this episode, I'm kind of just like, okay, yeah, Jake did that, but I'm like,
But Ryder is just like, there's something about like not like someone saying no, you just not listening, putting them in a situation in public, like that is manipulation to me, and that is a hell nah. Like you can go
Not a
sleep with
great
someone else,
message.
whatever, because you're basic. But no, that's like a whole nother level of conniving. I don't like it.
and like,
Yeah.
do you think like as the audience, we're supposed to be rooting for Ryder? But like, obviously he's a better guy. He never does anything because he never gets a line except for like, it's Stevie Wonder week. I think that was the last time he talked on the show.
He said Katie versus Gaga, we had an emotional connection because he didn't want to be either of the choices.
Right.
Yeah.
But
He said he was quitting Glee Club.
Yeah.
And he's still
season 4
here.
finale, and he's still fucking here. Yeah.
Yeah. So like as the audience, like, am I right? Like we're supposed to be like rooting for him.
I don't know. I actually don't know.
I very much was not rooting for him,
Yeah.
but it
I
was my
think-
first episode, so
I think we're not supposed to root for him. I think we're supposed to root for Marley, but they don't do a really clear job of presenting that.
I don't know. I think because like if we're supposed to root for Marley, we're supposed to root for What, her to get a new boyfriend or to her to have her personal space?
I think personal space. The only reason I think that we're not supposed to root for him is because of the visceral reaction I had when he puts his arm around her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, later.
Yeah, and her reaction to that situation.
Interesting.
I think was very well deserved. And she wasn't usually, if they want us to root for someone else, they put Marley in a bad spot and they blame her for something, but I didn't really feel like she was getting blamed for anything.
That's true.
Episode.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So Ryder and her go on a date, and then he like makes an Instagram post about it. He's
that
like, "Do you
was
see my
fucking
Instagram
creepy."
post?
Yeah,
No,
I did
he
not like
said,
that at all.
"Look at your Instagram." That's what
And
he
then-
says.
And then it's the best date ever that he posted, and it has like cartoon hearts
Flowers?
around them,
Yeah.
and like
Creepy.
creepy. That is your pit guy. Like if Marley has ever disappeared and no one knows where she is, you look in Ryder's pit and he's like putting lotion down in a pulley system.
Yeah.
Love a good Silence of the Lambs reference.
So then Jake is like, he puts his arms around both of them and he's like, "Oh, so you guys a thing now?" And he like puts his arm around her and is like, "It's none of your business."
This has all happened within the space of like, I want to say maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake cheats on Marley. Marley finds out. Marley goes on a date with Ryder.
No,
Jake.
that whole thing is probably a week because
Okay.
she does the whole Miley Cyrus thing.
Oh yeah, it does
last
take
week.
her a little bit to find
So
out.
it's
Yeah.
probably a total of 5 days of
Each
school
episode
time.
of Glee is about a week of story time because they always have a different lesson.
That makes no
know.
sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, with like the new lesson, that makes sense. But also the fact that, like, I don't know if you guys watched the recap, but the recap literally says this has been the longest year ever, and yet graduation is still coming. And I'm like, this cannot be a new week. Like, you don't have time. Also, just a really quick aside, I forgot to look this up, but I don't remember how many people the Glee Club needs to compete, but they do not have that number of people in their classroom right now.
No.
So they're not going to go to
12 or
nationals.
something.
I think it is. They have 7.
You should see. Yeah, where's Joe and Sugar?
I swear to God, if they show up to nationals, I'm going to lose my mind. I mean, like, where were you hiding them? Is Shu a pit guy too? Is that where he's hiding these students?
I can't wait for you to see the plot contrivance they do. So they have a full.
Oh, my heart.
So then Marley's like, just because we go on one date doesn't mean we're together. I still need my space. Like I'm not ready for a relationship.
I loved that moment. That was a good moment for me. I was like, hell yeah, go off.
Yeah, because he's like, I hope this isn't too forward, but I know we just went out yesterday, but we should do it again tonight. And I'm like,
I can't stop thinking about you. Like, honey, that is too forward.
even if I liked the person, I would still be like, no, I still need a couple of days to like recoup.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fact that Melissa Benoist Marley and Blake Jenner Ryder were married in real life, and he was abusive physically to her. And I looked this up because I saw it in a YouTube comment, but I wanted to confirm that she did say this, that he was controlling of her acting life as well, and didn't like when she had love interests that weren't him, when she was like being romantic or like kissing other actors, which like grow up, that's what actors do.
So were they married at this point?
They were publicly engaged, but secretly married.
And they had been together.
Eloped?
They had a
like
secret
a year.
wedding, yeah.
A
And
year or so?
They were together. I think they announced their marriage in 2015, officially broke up in 2016, and then she started dating Chris Wood from Supergirl in 2017.
But they started dating probably like 2014. 2013?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I feel
so by
like
the time this was happening,
they were married, I think. Yeah.
Wasn't this 2014? What year is this? So they
Wait, no. Was it 2013?
No, this was 24. Oh, wait. No, this was 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did they meet on Glee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So season 5 of Glee was
2013 to 2014. Yeah. Right? Because, yeah.
September 2013. So this would have been 2013.
Yeah.
So they were just dating at this point, or possibly engaged.
Possibly engaged, yeah. But he was controlling, and so people think that he is the reason why the Jake and Marley relationship was axed.
I mean, I don't know. I can believe that. Like,
Yeah.
Could be. I have no idea. Like, do actors and actresses have that much control over where the story goes in TV?
They can.
He's not a main actor, though.
that's the thing. Well, I mean, unless like they made like a really big stink about it.
Yeah, because he could have, because, you know, Ryan Murphy loves a white boy. And he was
That's
the
why
Glee
Ryder
Project
won.
winner. Yeah. And I think maybe they just I almost think the writers were like, okay, fine, but we'll make you look super weird and creepy.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about like if they were like just dating at this point, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, what were the circumstances that could have got the writers to do this? That's interesting. Also, I'm thinking about like how early that type of behavior was happening,
Mhm.
which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, she said they were like friends, and then once they started dating, it went from like 0 to 60.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. But it's weird because if you look at his statement about the whole thing, he really accuses it of being on both sides, saying that he wasn't allowed to take jobs because of other female things. And then it becomes into like one of those situations that's just like, it's
He
just
said,
bad on
she
both.
said.
Yeah. And it's bad on both ends. And I don't know.
Yeah, because he played a love interest for one episode on Supergirl. He was in that baseball movie. I think she was in it as well. And then
Really?
he was in that show with Renee Zellweger of the B movie. And
Renee Zellweger of the B movie.
I think it was called We Watched One Episode.
I'm pretty sure that's not what it was called.
It was
No.
We
Renee
watched-
Zellweger, the actress who has been in so many things. I think she won an Oscar
He will only be known for the B movie. That is
as
my
Vanessa
legacy.
Vanessa from the B movie. I love it.
But he was in a show with her where he was dating the girl from Suburgatory and Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
What show is this?
It was like
He was born in 92. Oh my goodness. I thought he was older. He's literally our age.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are you sure I watched this with you?
Yes, we watched one episode and then I went to watch the Aladdin movie, the Aladdin reboot.
Huh. Was it recent or something?
Yeah, it was. We were in the Woodman apartment. It was before COVID. He's also going to be in the Merrily We Roll Along movie
Yeah, I just saw that.
because he was cast before all this stuff came out, and that movie's going to be like filmed over 20 years.
Wait, why are we talking about this? I forget how we got here in this
Because you feel the ickiness and the controllingness on screen. I felt the vibes.
I mean, I felt the vibes, but I just thought that that's how his character is written, right? To be like an ignorant white boy who thinks that he deserves everything because he's nice and therefore won't listen to the opinions of women.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish that we could give Glee that much credit,
Oh,
but I don't think we can.
Okay. See, and this is the first episode, right? So, you know, it takes place in Ohio, and I was like, it did give me bad vibes if I hadn't seen like this kind of behavior before, like I probably would not have, but the red flags, man, they were just popping up all over the place. And if that's him as a person, I don't know, not like that. Not at all.
No.
0%.
The interesting thing is I feel like he was not portrayed in this way before now.
Yeah, I mean, well, he was transphobic, sort of. He was like weird with Unique, and then he was catfished by Unique, and then he was kicking things.
I'm not saying like he wasn't like portrayed as like a great person, more just like
he wasn't manipulative up until this point.
Yeah, I want to say like it was more on the ignorant side of you're just being an idiot unless like you're purposely trying to get someone to be controlled by you.
And that's the thing, like I don't even know if that was written to be like purposely. Like I don't even know if he knows what he's doing at this point. I think he might just be stupid, but it's just because like the intention might not be there, that behavior is still what it is.
Yeah. And I think that gets into, so if we track Marley's journey in this Glee Club, when she first joined, they were making fat jokes about her mom. And then she was like, yeah, no, thank you. And then they're like, okay, we're not like that. We're sorry. We struggle with poverty too. That's like Sam said that. And then she was like, okay. And then Kitty joined and gave her an eating disorder. She started dating Jake. There was a school shooting.
That's where she found out that
through a lot.
That's when she found out that Kitty was the reason she had an eating disorder.
And they couldn't have Christmas, remember, because they had to pay for the therapist.
And everyone
Dr. Goodsits.
And everyone blamed Marley for
she
fainting
during Gangnam Style, and they were like, you're the reason Glee Club is over. And no one defended her. And I'm like, you were singing Gangnam Style, you weren't gonna win.
Dude, this is all sorts of messed up.
Yeah, like this is literally like a toxic environment. Like I think we're misremembering. I don't think Sue said that she was gonna make an environment so toxic. I think Shu said that. I think we're all misremembering.
Yeah. Like, and then Jake cheats on her. And then with someone who's like bullying her.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then now Ryder's doing this. And it's like, this has not been a positive experience for Marley. Like in a few episodes, there's going to be a lot of talk about how great Glee Club is because something's going to happen. They're going to talk about how great it's been for all of them. But I will posit it has not been great for Marley.
No. It hasn't also been great for Tina either. Like, Tina doesn't really get to do anything.
Yeah, Tina at least got to date like Mike Chang, who was nice. Like,
I don't even know who Tina is. So
Tina had
she
one
even
line.
in this?
She had 2 lines.
Oh,
I counted this time.
One of them was, we're gonna be big stars.
Oh, at the end with the pigtails.
Also, just like a side note about another storyline, I just have to quickly say before I forget, Tina's also graduating, yet she doesn't get any talk of like what she's doing after high school. We don't care.
And yet
Except I do care.
Fully positive that she's going to be the most successful person. Like, I have no doubt.
Because she's used to adversity. Rachel always gets everything she wants. Tina isn't. So Tina will go into acting and be told no, and she won't have to sing yesterday about it. She'll just be like, okay.
Yeah, she'll be like, yep, got it. It's okay. I got like 7 other auditions this week.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about like the general arc of like, so it's career week and Mr. Shu is upset that there's no table about the arts.
Okay, but also some of the jobs they have in this career fair, which is taking place in the hallway.
Yeah, not the gym or something.
In front of people's lockers, not in the gym.
It's a career fair for high school, question mark?
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely had like a mock, not like a mock one, but like
it's really not unheard of. I like remember going to like different booths of like different occupations. Like I remember doing drywall on a fake wall. It was awesome.
We did like
core memory.
College. There was a college fair and there were like a bunch of colleges that came, but I don't ever remember having a career fair. But then also my high school was very college preppy.
Pro-college.
The fact that they wanted everyone to get into college because it would make them look good is probably that's where that's coming from.
But also these jobs are like so weird that I'm like, it's almost as if the guy who does that show Dirty Jobs recommended all these different careers.
I don't even think they're real. I thought they were just made up for humor purposes.
Well,
like
because I was like,
sculpting. Yeah, facial sculpting does not exist. Yeah.
I was like, what is happening? I literally thought, I was like, oh, it's got to be that guy. Like the guy from Dirty Jobs. He put this whole thing together. He was the organizer.
Crow is a communications major who got famous on reality TV and likes to tell people not to go to college and that it's a waste of time to pursue your dreams. So
wait a second.
Does he phrase it like that? Because I have a lot of thoughts on college and dreams.
I think he's done like, I'm not sure if he's done a PragerU video. But like, it's very much like he does have a valid point because I do think people often overlook.
100%. I agree. I really do.
But then there's also a lot of boomerishness.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like how he went from being a communications major to like collecting semen from horses and stuff. Like how I want to know everything about this man now.
You do you.
I was like, what is your life? How do you get to like doing why would you want to do the Dirty Job show? Like what made him want to do that?
He went to the something high school career fair.
I guess so. God, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Sue starts talking about the job market. Mm-hmm. And she talks about
super triggered by that, by the way. Because I was like, nothing has changed.
Seriously though, honestly, I was sitting there and being like, this is the perfect like satire for my life. You know, like that was like that small conversation was the most accurate thing I heard today.
Yeah.
And she does have a valid point in that like most people who pursue the arts are not going to be superstars. Now there's lots of levels of success. Like, are you going to be a working actor who maybe has a main job, but is in a lot of plays or commercials? Like, it's not just Brad Pitt or nothing. Like there are lots of levels to being a performer.
Or any type of artist.
Yeah. It's like, you know, if you go to school for like fine art, like in terms of like painting or drawing, like you could work in a gallery, you could work in a museum. Like there are tons of different career paths. So my issue with this whole thing was that I'm like, it's super focused on performance when there are tons of careers in the arts that aren't performance, you know.
Listen, I don't know what fecal sculpting is, but it sounds kind of artistic,
right? I was like, literally, it's so, like, what could that even be? Like,
I don't know if you want to know.
I
think it's exactly what you think it is.
Could she be like calling it like a name for someone who tests like different like body matter in a lab? Like,
no,
is that
I literally feel like
name?
they just made things up to be funny. Like the one before it was like a salad architect.
A salad, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's someone who works at Subway, but specifically focuses on salads.
Instead of a sandwich artist, it's a salad architect.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to build it.
I was getting vibes of that Butter movie.
Oh my gosh.
Triggered.
We watched in grad school with the mom. What's her name? Ben Jennifer
Affleck's,
Garner.
Yeah, former wife. Also Electra and the woman from Alias.
And Peppermint and the mom in
Timothy
Love
Green.
Simon and Timothy Green. And she's
so
mom
good at being a mom.
But anyways, it gave
13
me
going
that
on
vibe.
30? Oh.
Yeah.
Classic.
So Jennifer Garner will be in the Gleeboot. Yeah. I don't know what she's gonna sing yet. Maybe "Stupid Love" by Lady Gaga. Yeah. So go.
Okay, but well, I just want to like throw this in before we move on. So I definitely agree that like I'm very torn between like I love the arts and very torn between the fact that like my whole entire professional career is working with college students, and a lot of my BFA like college students, like they study these things that they love, and I see them graduate and do nothing with them. And that's not all of them. Like I know people that have worked in New York. I know people that do props for like Hamilton. I don't know. So I've met people that are successful in these areas, but I know it's super hard. And I'm just like, I like you said, Cullen, like Sue kind of has a point. But also, yeah, they really don't acknowledge all the other like careers that can possibly do in the arts. I don't think everyone needs to go to college either. But I have an issue with like just the whole dreams thing specifically. And that's not just for like, you know, creative students or art students. Like I kind of felt like it was a disservice for me now as an adult to be told that I could just follow my dreams and, you know, I could get what I wanted if I worked hard for it, because all I've done is work hard for it and I have gotten nowhere near where I want to be. And I think that it's almost dangerous to say things like, you know, do what you want, follow your dreams, because sometimes it's not realistic and you suffer the consequences by not being able to pay your rent, not having a place to live. Like, so I sound like a very cynical person, but like realistically, you know, I see all these people that sacrifice so much to go for their dreams and then end up in a situation where they compromise the health of their being, whether that's mental or physical.
Yeah. I mean, we all know on this podcast, I'm a dream stan.
Dude, I know. You as a person, yeah.
But I do think you have a point, especially as someone who like lives in Los Angeles and is like pursuing, you know, what they want to do. And I think a big part of it is when it comes to dreams is don't be narrow-minded in what you're looking for. Like, is it you want to make a difference? Is it you want attention? Like, what is the thing that's like fueling that dream? And then also, and like, because there are multiple ways you can fulfill that. Mm-hmm. And also, you can't wait for someone else to make your dream come true. And I don't just mean you have to work hard generically, but like if you're a writer, you have to write. Like if you're, you know, like you have to create. No,
I get that for sure. I guess I've just seen so many students like get to a point where they just absolutely break down. And I myself like have wanted a future that I've worked so hard for that I'm nowhere near close to because of like my socioeconomic class and all those things. And I just think it goes a lot deeper than just like that stuff. Those are just my thoughts on that whole, like, there's no representation of the arts. You saying it's a waste of time. Obviously it's way more complex than everything. I think it's super fulfilling for you to study your passion, go what you're after. I love the arts. Like I'm really involved in the theater community here, but it's a double-edged sword sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of disillusionment. Because when you're a dreamer, dreams by their very nature have no basis in reality.
Sure.
So once you figure out what reality is, you either have to change what you want to do or you're going to be run into the ground, basically.
Or you change reality.
No, Cullen.
Yeah.
No.
You have to change the world that you live in.
Okay, changing the world you live in and changing reality.
Same thing.
No. Gravity still exists, okay?
Yeah, I didn't say flying.
Although, to be fair, it did take a while, but humans did get ourselves into the air. It depends on the type of person you are, but I'm not going to go inventing the airplane. That's not the type of person I am, and that would kill a lot of people. Like, you have to be a certain type of person in order to achieve that sort of high level. And I think one of the things that is sort of not useful is for when people think that's like that's the only way that you can succeed is by being the one in a million.
Yeah.
It's not.
I do think, though, you have a point, Rebekah, especially when it comes to colleges and how colleges, like, these degrees are very expensive and people are putting in a lot of money that they're probably not going to get back. And, like, is that ethical?
Oh, that's a whole different conversation.
And like,
no, I don't believe it either. I've worked for higher education since like 2014, paraprofessionally for a little bit. It's not ethical.
And like most famous actors come from money and come from people in the entertainment industry, you know, like, so there are those class and socioeconomic realities.
And like it's like being the exception to the rule. And I think it just gets to a point where, and I don't want to limit people, but when you tell everyone that they can be that exception, when they reach a point where they realize they can't, like, that's like half of their life that they've been working up to their whole life to that point that they've been working up to this, and it completely restructures everything.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 degrees, neither of which I'm using directly right now, but both of them sort of tangentially led me to the job I'm in. So
Hannah's face this entire conversation.
Listen, I can't really talk on it because I'm one of those people who's getting caught up in that situation of like, okay, do I just keep doing what I'm doing and using the rest of my time to just pursue my passions as hobbies and passions, or do I want to dedicate my career to something that I'm really happy with? Because I'm not super happy with what I'm doing right now. So this conversation's super triggering.
Sorry.
Newsflash for all of our listeners: being hosts on a podcast it's not our dream. Okay.
It's my dream.
Oh, you're definitely making it now.
Yeah, I mean, no one listens to it, but I'll get there.
So the thing that I am interested in is the fact that Glee does the thing where it like posits this idea that like, oh, a career in the arts doesn't really exist type of thing. But it is super focused on performance and like the fine arts, like being an artist type careers, and not so much as like everything else that's out there. But they never resolve it. It's just kind of like, let's sing more Billy Joel. So that was fun.
That and the fact that like the reality is like in your high school play, your high school drama club, your high school glee club, not everyone wants to go into the performing arts.
Yeah, like Shu literally comes in hot in whatever scene it is. He's like, I know you all want to do this. And I wanted someone to be like, not me. I do this because I like it. I actually want to be an accountant.
I was actually really excited to see, or like, we hear this little bit of what Blaine wants to do.
Yes.
And I was like really excited. And then they just fucking throw it in the trash.
And then it was like,
I was actually kind of mad about that.
Okay, we gotta wait till we talk because
I know, but
these things go hand in hand because like it doesn't make any sense. This show is literally like, it's literally Go for Your Dreams, the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it's not like go for your dreams, but also be a little more realistic.
Yeah, well, that is the reality in that Hollywood entertainment is made by people who have made it. So to them, it is possible.
That's true.
That's true.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Believe in your dreams. Okay. To move on. So let's talk about, I guess this storyline is not really a storyline. This is kind of brought up, and at the end, Sue puts up the Phyllis Diller shrine, and is like, right, it was Phyllis Diller, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and she was like,
Is that the person who's on the wall in the?
no, that's the old Glee Club teacher.
Yeah, but I thought her name was Phyllis.
No, she just gives Phyllis vibes.
Okay.
And so and then she's like, oh, I can't believe you're gonna use this to sing another Billy Joel song. And they sing, because Tina's like, we're all gonna be big stars. And I'm like, that is not realistic. Like, you're not, that did bother me. I need to look up because I don't know these songs. What song
This
was
one
this,
is
Hannah?
You May Be Right.
Yeah. I didn't mind this one. It was very boppy.
This was actually, I want to say, like, the least offensive Schuster song I've seen.
Yes, I thought so too. I was like, oh, it's Shoe. But then I was like, oh, you know, I don't mind it.
It's working.
Yeah.
What? This is crazy.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like when you don't have him singing a sexually aggressive song that's about sexual assault and harassment, and when you don't have him rapping, like it's kind of okay. Who would have thought? Oh yeah, they did Blurred Lines last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
Not
And
kind of when
she-
he sang the song.
And Shu tried to say it's not about sexual assault. Yeah, that happened last week.
I hate that song so much.
I know, me too.
I also hate that it's catchy.
So that's something I didn't talk about last week, but Blurred Lines is like it's such an earworm.
Yeah.
But then you're like, ugh,
No, get it out in all the ways.
yeah.
Yeah. So then let's quickly talk about one of Glee's favorite traditions, a man singing at a woman. So Becky, so Artie is just kind of inserting himself into Becky's life.
Yep.
For no reason. He's just like, oh, Becky, what are you going to do? And then she's like, I'm just going to stay here and be Sue's secretary. And Sue's like, what are you doing? She has a job as my secretary. And Artie's like, I've been looking into colleges that have good programs for students with disabilities. And she's like, but out of her business.
This is such a weird plot line because I want to know where Becky's parents are.
Yeah. I don't know if Becky has parents anymore. Like I know she had a
Did
mom at
Sue
one
officially
point.
adopt her or what?
Well, she has
I
a gun, or her dad has a gun. That's how she brought a gun to school.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Rebekah. Becky brought a gun to school. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
So she's like, 'cause then he comes up
And
to her.
she's still at school? Sorry.
She was suspended.
For like 2 weeks.
Like, don't get me wrong. Oh, okay. Continue, Cullen. Sorry.
So he comes up to her and is like talking about it again. And then she's like, do you want a threesome with Kitty? And he's like, no. And then he sings honestly at like, we're at the auditorium. He sings honesty because he wants her to be honest. But she's like, everyone leave. Artie's about to show me his purple mushroom.
I really didn't want us to say that line, but we did.
Thank you. Thank you.
I need it. It was a
I
scar
also
on
didn't
my
love
heart.
it. Yeah, it was. I'm never gonna unthink that, you know?
Yeah. And then like, I hope they
That has
paid
become
this
a core
actress
memory.
well.
A bad core memory.
Sadness.
Yeah. So then she's like, well, I do kind of want to go to college, but I'm nervous that people aren't going to that people are going to make fun of me or be mean to me. So he's like, let's take a tour of Columbus, University of Columbus, right?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
It's all
Yeah.
Ohio. It's all the same.
But so here I can report happily. So when they said it's like, oh, it's like 2 hours from here, I was like, that sounds about right. But I was like, but let me check. And I Googled it and it's about 2 hours away
Yeah,
from
from
Lima.
Lima.
There you go.
Lima.
So
Yeah.
I was like,
They did it,
wow,
finally.
the
Yeah.
bare minimum.
That's also like a real program. So the University of Cincinnati is actually recognized for having the Transition and Access Program, or
Yeah.
TAP. And it makes it like one of, I'm reading this, I Googled it earlier.
And I was like, oh,
it's,
wow,
it's like
she's knows
received
all that.
national attention for the opportunities. And I'm kind of mad at myself as a higher ed professional, at least for the next week. That I didn't know that these programs even existed. So
I didn't either.
yeah,
But yeah, and I think
damn
like
able-bodied privilege.
I think like the idea that they're putting this into the show and trying to give light to it is good. But it's that execution thing that they just aren't very good at, you know?
Well, it's
like forcing your thoughts on other people.
Yeah. It's like Artie, the show kind of posits that Artie and Becky have some kind of bond because they both have disabilities.
Yes.
Even though they're both wildly different people with wildly different disabilities.
It's the same sort of thing that happened when they tried to get them to date for one episode. And that was also super awkward.
Oh gosh, these writers are hurting my soul. It's just like when, this has nothing to do with anything, they had a deaf contestant on The Bachelor and everyone was like when she got eliminated, it was like, fix her up with someone McDonald, Sean McDonald, that might have been his name, who was a CODA, a child of deaf adults, and they're like, hook them up. And I'm like, that's an insensitive thing to say.
Yeah.
Society's got a little ways to go.
I'd be super interested in this story and in general Becky as a character. If we could just get things from her perspective. She's such kind of like a comedic character at this point. Anything that they have her, wow, I'm not articulating very well. Her process, like her point in storylines is not actually as someone who, like, she's not a main character, right? So
yeah, it feels like a good service that Artie did, not actually being about Becky and her future.
Yeah, like, because the only time we've gotten Becky's head was that time in season 3 where she said, "No Chengdu, I ain't no rice queen" about Mike Chang. And then she was voiced by Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren had to say those lines.
And
Helen Mirren.
She played strip poker with Puck, and then they went to prom and wearing the beer box crown.
Yes.
And she was like, "You have a hot piece of booty, like you've made it." And that's the most we got from Becky, like in her head. The rest is just other people.
I have a really hard time discerning between like when the show is trying to do something good and like show about her or just using her as a punchline.
Yeah.
Because I was like really uncomfortable in this episode because it was like, I don't know if this is good. It's kind of tricking me into thinking it is, but then I'm like, something's telling me that there's something wrong here.
So then they go to the school and it's a cool look into the program. She seems to be enjoying herself.
There's this guy who's like hitting on her.
And she's like, no.
She's not having it.
She put her arm around her and she like shrugged him off.
Yeah, 2 people in the same episode who do that same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the theme of the week.
Don't touch me.
So then Becky decides that she does want to go to college, and Sue is mad at Artie. But then she's like, ask good questions, like look out for her. And then
those aren't even good questions.
Yeah.
I just have to acknowledge that. Like those are the most like,
is there Wi-Fi on campus? It's University of Cincinnati, probably.
Yeah, and then we just make like the freshman 15 or the freshman 20-pound joke thing.
Yeah.
Like,
not good questions.
Come on, ask real questions.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like what kind of like accommodations do they possibly have for things that I might need?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Sorry.
And then we get this cute scene with Sue and Becky where Sue is kind of like understanding that Becky's growing up and like moving on. And Becky's kind of like scared to tell her that she wants to go to college, but Sue is like, no, like it sounds like that was more than okay. That was really good. And then she's like, I'll help you with your essay. And she's like, you can't say that.
You can't say douche
crap or douche.
Yeah.
And Becky's like, really?
That was a freaking long essay. That thing was like 40 pages.
Yeah. Most of it was probably her cursing.
Yeah.
So I actually really liked that scene. Just because those 2 actresses have a lot of chemistry and like.
Yeah, this is one of the few times when they actually use that chemistry well.
Yeah. But overall, I'm like, why couldn't Becky do this for herself? Why couldn't Becky, like, Artie just comes up to Becky. Becky didn't even reach out to Artie and be like, hey, I'm confused.
Yeah, he projects his own fear onto her. And like, okay, yeah, he ends up being right, but like, that's not the point, right? Like, he just projects it. I think this would have made more sense if Artie and Becky had, say, been actual friends throughout the series and having more than 3 whole scenes together ever. I think it would have been interesting to sort of have that same conversation that Artie had, where he was scared to go to college, but he kind of blamed it on his mom not wanting him to leave and that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like they have similar ideas. So I don't know. I feel like it would make more sense to have those stories together. Maybe and see how it's differed for these 2 different disabilities.
That would have been cool to highlight those. But I mean, even if like they could have done something so simple, like she has like a pamphlet for college in her backpack that Artie notices, right? Like, yeah, you know, so he's not just like projecting his own stuff onto her and like being like crossing those boundaries without any sort of like indication that this is a thing that's wanted. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a little, yeah,
there's really no originality here, specifically because they already did this storyline with Artie.
Yeah, and Artie says that they're friends, but I'm like, you like went on that one date at Breadsticks once, and that's really it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Glee loves its white knight storylines.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
We do get a storyline where a woman is tangentially involved in helping a man. So sexism's over, I guess. So let's talk about the main storyline.
All right.
Gosh.
We spent a lot of time on those.
We're going so in depth. Okay.
This is a long one.
Oh my gosh. Let's try and be okay. So Blaine and Sam saying moving out because like, we're going to New York. We're the only actual friendship on this TV show that's allegedly about friends. We're gonna go to New York and like look at colleges.
And Blaine was there for his Miata edition. I'm like, why does he have to go to New York, but Rachel and Kurt didn't last year, 2 years ago?
Pandemic.
She's busy saying not great stuff on The View. Anyway, that's old news by this point. But.
So they say moving out, they arrive, and it's the way that's acted is that they did not announce that they were coming. Like Kurt and Rachel and Santana are like, oh my gosh, like they not like, oh, you arrived. They're like, oh, what are you doing here?
You're gonna be here. Oh, and you need to stay at our place, which is something you typically ask before you show up.
I got the impression that they knew they were coming, but then it was a surprise because
he doesn't knock.
They don't knock.
Opens their door. I was like, why is it not locked right now?
Yes.
I don't care if you're home. It should be locked.
So then Kitty
must have attentions.
So then they're at Niata and they looked at some historical sites that Kurt suggested, not Niata, the diner. They looked at some historical sites that Kurt suggested, but they also looked at different colleges.
An old rundown bathhouse or something. And I was like, what? Why?
And then the Kurt's like, you're going to kill it at your Niata audition, but we're going to prep you. And then he's like, guys, the biggest star is here and he's going to sing Piano Man.
You don't know him yet. And you might not ever. I think, so if we're going to rank like shoehorning the songs, this might be the worst offender because it's so blatantly obvious. It's like, we're singing a song.
It's so sad to me because this is my favorite Billy Joel song.
I know, it's so good. It's such a good song.
It's many people's favorite Billy Joel song.
Yes.
And so, I mean, Darren Criss does a good job with it. Like, it's Blaine.
He's by far the best of the Billy Joel singers, I think. Like, it sounds really good.
And then they there's candles.
They're
was so
dancing
dumb.
with the candles. I literally was like, I'm sorry, is this Beauty and the Beast? What's happening?
Yeah, okay. So then let's quickly just talk about Blaine's storyline, then we'll get to Sam. So then Blaine is like, yeah, I have my NIADA audition, but I'm also have other interests at other schools. Because at NIADA, you can only study performing arts. This cat is like,
This is terrific entertainment. Oh,
She really wanted the microphone.
she's like, I have something to say. That's another podcast. What's your podcast's name?
Buttons.
Buttons.
I've never heard podcast before. I'm gonna use it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another podcast on the show?
All right,
Uh,
continue. Yeah, they're dancing with candles. It was
Yeah.
hard to watch.
It was very hard to watch.
It was major cringe.
and then Blaine is basically saying like, hey, I might want to pursue other passions in college. I don't want to pigeonhole what I'm going to do at 18 years old.
He mentioned
That's-
wanting to be a doctor, and I was like, oh wow, this is a side of Blaine I never knew.
Right? Like, but also, I have a feeling based on the end of this conversation, he either made that up because he was actually afraid, or Kurt's like, no. That's not who you
It's
are.
one or the other, right? It's either
Yeah.
he was serious and was told by his fiance that no, that's not true, and he's just accepting it.
Or the show
or-
is like, no, he made that up because he's actually just scared. And I don't like
Yeah.
either option.
No.
I feel like
I
the
hope he's
show is
serious.
saying that he just made it up,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
which I was really
Because Kurt's
disappointed
like,
by.
oh, I know you. I know you're just scared. So you're coming up with these backup plans. And I'm like,
these
albeit-
crazy things.
I'll-
Also,
A medical degree is not a backup plan, guys.
he also is like, well, I'm gonna go to Columbia and NYU, check those out. And he's like, why? You're definitely going to NIADA. And he's like, I should have safety schools. I was like, finally, someone in this fucking universe understands the idea that you should be applying to multiple schools just in case you don't get into the one you really want to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, albeit Blaine is probably, if I had to bet on any of these characters, like, I guess Rachel, but like making it in like the performing arts, like Blaine is like the most talented and the most like mainstream appeal, you know? But it is like, why isn't he allowed to possibly explore other things by merely going to a school that has other options?
Yeah.
So does this mean that NIADA doesn't have like general education requirements
Yeah.
in like the
it's
normal
like an art
sense?
school.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's absolutely nothing wrong. I don't think anyone here would argue with him being like, yeah, maybe I want to go to Columbia or New York, or NYU, which are two very good schools,
Mhm.
which also have a ton of other subjects you can study in gen eds. And he may find out that like he wants to be an archaeologist. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think my biggest issue is that like say that there was a smidge of that was true, even a smidge. Like I have seen so many students that like love art or love performing, and then once it turns into their major, they lose their joy for it. And
Yes.
especially if they're talented and people have always pushed them in that, they feel kind of forced into that box, and then they feel almost a little resentful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another good option point is that like he could honestly start like maybe he starts going to NYU Tisch and then he decides, oh, actually, I think I want to, I don't know. Because he also mentions he might want to be a teacher like Mr. Shu. And I'm like, oh, please don't have him as your role model. But like he could go and discover like, oh, actually, I don't want to study this. Like it could actually be really interesting if he does actually like go to NIADA and sees all these people like working super hard and like possibly losing their joy of being in this art school or just having this major. And then like he could be like, actually, I think I want to study something else, but maybe like minor in this or like take some classes or just participate as like a side thing. Like
That could be a really interesting storyline.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that gives a more representation of what it's like to be in the arts. professionally and
sure.
as a hobby.
Kate
How, like-
Hudson starts bullying him in that intro to dance class, and Blaine
and he
is
would be
like, I'm out.
Absolutely not. Fuck you.
How many seasons is Glee? Like, do
6.
6.
And-
Six
I got
total.
2 more.
Yeah.
2 more.
well,
We're
this
on
was
the
season
second
5. This is season 5.
Yeah.
We're almost done.
Yeah, well, I was just like, Cullen's seen the show. Maybe you do get to see a little bit of like Blaine post high school.
Well, you haven't seen the end,
I
but
haven't
you
seen the
already know
end.
what happens
I
because
know-
you always know what happens.
I do, and I think Blaine becomes a professional homosexual. I'm not really sure.
Isn't
I
he already?
So then, okay, so let's talk about Sam. So Sam is going to interview for theater at Hunter College. I'm like, Sam was he even in West Side Story when they did it? Like,
don't
Sam
know.
has shown like no interest. If I had to bet on any of these characters, just like doing it for fun, not for
It
like,
would be Sam.
it would
yeah.
be Sam. You
Mhm.
know, he's just kind of there because it's like because Finn started
I
in the
would
showers
see
that one
him,
time. Yeah.
Like performing in coffee shops.
Yeah.
And then like having a different job. Like
Yeah. So he goes to this interview
the interview.
Oh no. Okay.
and he starts talking about like his passion for women's rights.
Do we know? Did they name a school?
It was Hunter.
Hunter.
Okay.
Hunter
The
College.
school that requires the GRE for their screenwriting program because I almost applied there. It was in my top 6, and then I didn't because I didn't want to take the GRE.
Same.
Not gonna lie, that's one of the reasons. Also,
No, we went because we loved you. Duh.
So
Isn't it strange that like I love Sam? Glad he got his own little storyline, but isn't it weird that like Sam's storyline was actually exploring what he really wanted to do, and Blaine's was being forced into like what he's destined to do, according to the show and Kurt?
yeah,
little
That's
bit.
sad.
I hate Destiny. Such a screwed up concept.
yeah, we already talked about dreams. We can't get into Destiny. I'm like, I have thoughts too. I'm not a fan, but oh my gosh, yeah. So Sam is like, he says just because women make less for the same job doesn't mean they should be respected less.
Yeah, the whole scene was horrible. The whole scene was horrible. Well, and this is what I wanted to ask, because you have all seen Sam as a character. Like, is this actually his personality, or was he trying to like self-sabotage this interview?
Oh no, this wasn't self-sabotage.
This
Well,
was
like,
I think this was genuine. Like
He's
Oh,
not
no.
usually
He's not my
sexist.
Glee boyfriend. I take it back.
So like he's not usually like actively sexist or racist. He's just very dumb.
yes. And I think he was probably nervous and didn't really know what to do.
So he was talking about things he didn't understand. He's like, "Oh, I've heard about this. I'm going to bring it up," but he
I
didn't
think
get it. Yeah.
He also was just like, she's a woman. She's also a Black woman. I should talk about how much I
Yeah.
respect
was the
these
worst, yeah.
populations.
Mhm.
It was
because
the
that-
worst.
Because he's like,
It was the worst.
"You're
not
black. That
smart.
must be interesting."
That-
Not a
and then
smart
he said-
person.
And then
This is a shot in the dark or something like that. He's like, but do you know Mercedes Jones? And then it ends. And I was
which
just
is
like,
I
like the
died.
biggest microaggression.
Yes.
It's just an aggression, really.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
don't know if
super
this is
racist at that point.
and like, that's the thing is that like, he's not necessarily doing this maliciously. I don't think that. I think it's that, oh, did we lose you, Rebekah?
Oh, I'm still here.
Okay. But it's that like he's nervous and he's just like it's just word
vomit.
vomit.
'Cause
Yeah.
he does say that he talks too much when he's with Tyra Banks.
But and it's funny because Tyra Banks, also a woman, also Black, but he doesn't say any of those things. So maybe the idea of being in a modeling agency was more comfortable of a setting to him because he was like, this makes more sense for me. College doesn't.
It could, I suppose, have been sort of like an unconscious self-sabotage, as people do when they're in
Maybe,
uncomfortable situations.
That's true.
So Okay, so then we get the scene with Rachel, and Sam and Rachel are suddenly having interactions. It's one of their first interactions.
I think this is the very first time they've ever spoken.
No, because remember when
and they're making like eyes at each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was weird.
Remember
It was
when she
super
asked
weird.
him to prom, and then he said Santana said he would take all my gold, and then
Yeah, I do remember that.
yeah, and then when I think she was there, she gave him $1 when he was a stripper. And I think that's like the journey of Rachel and Sam to this point.
And now they're
'cause she
having
was
eye
with-
sex.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm going to tell this to this person I barely have a relationship with, that my dream was always to be a male model. He's like, I just imagine myself in Hollywood and there's a bus. And I'm in my underwear, and my junk is as big as a car. And I
And then
look at
this
it.
guy
it's
walks
awesome.
by. This guy walks by in his like dream sequence, and he's speaking Spanish, and he's like, "Hey, your junk is as big as a car," and then they high five, and then the guy walks away. It's so random. Like
Enjoyed that scene.
this is how Sam thinks New York is,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. I guess.
Okay, I have a question. So Rachel says it's like when in this conversation she said this is New York, it's the city where dreams come true, and yet is it Kurt and the Santana?
Yeah.
Are they doing anything with their lives besides working at this diner?
Rachel,
I'm curious.
That's a
Rachel
good
landed
point.
a Broadway role in her freshman semester
year.
of college.
First audition.
Her freshman year, first audition. She is
I
Funny
hate
Girl.
that.
She's in the Funny
Yeah.
Girl revival. Yeah.
I hate that.
Kurt did have a really nice internship at Vogue, but he doesn't want to be working at Vogue. He wants to be doing what Rachel's doing.
See, this goes back this whole thing of like what they really want to do. It like Kurt could have explored becoming famous and becoming some sort of, personality going through Vogue.com, through his internship, through fashion.
For sure. That would have been way more interesting.
Yeah. And so it's
Absolutely. Santana got a commercial.
Oh, the Easter stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just
curious because I also noticed like they have like a decent apartment for New York. And then I see
about it.
I see
anymore.
both of them in a diner, and then I don't even see what the other girl does at all. And I'm just like, I don't know if this is realistic, but okay.
I'm pretty sure Rachel's parents are paying for their apartment.
Yeah. And now that she
But
has like
Santana
the Broadway
and
thing,
Kurt pay rent. I don't
now
understand.
she's probably getting paid for that.
Yeah.
So now she's got the diner money, which I don't understand how she's doing Broadway stuff and working at the diner and going to school. There's literally no way.
Okay, so
yeah,
She's also in
There's a
Kurt's five
reason.
vocalist band. Yeah.
they're all unrealistically living in New York with weird jobs that no one would ever get your first
well,
time there.
I was just and that's my thing is she said it's the city where dreams come true, and I was wondering if any of their dreams had actually come true, or they just like have heard that, like we're in New
let's
York.
see. Had
Dreams come true
unrealistically.
here, like
Yeah. So then she gets the Funny Girl photographer to just take a bunch of photos of Sam. And then
Like, is she paying that person?
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I was like, she's not gonna just do this for free.
And then
Not even as a favor to Rachel, this person she met like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, this woman is a professional. She's not going to spend time with you.
yeah, and then they have Sam stripped down, and she's like, I'm just gonna put this oil on you. And then they
Rachel says that.
Yeah.
Not the photographer.
Because at first they're taking pictures of him fully clothed in like suits and like this little cowboy getup, and it's great. He looks really good. And then she's like, "Take off your clothes," and I was like, "Why is this necessary?" Like, I get why it's necessary because agencies often want to see that, but why is this necessary? And then she oils them up, and I was like, And then they're making eyes at each other.
Yeah.
That was the most uncomfortable, awkward. Like, why these two people? I don't know.
I have 2 words for you. Slow burn. You're not gonna be happy with it, but that's the reality. So
No.
What?
So
Block it out, Alyssa. Block it
I'm
out.
trying, but all I can think of is arson.
You don't.
Perfect.
It's a term.
I know what slow burn means.
Yeah.
Colin.
Well, it's
But
not
now
about
all
arson.
she's thinking about arson.
It's joke.
Don't let her near
Damn
the
it.
lighters and the candles, Cullen.
So yeah. Then he goes to Bechet or whatever, and he's talking to Tyra Banks.
Bitch it.
And he's like, is it like Bechet? Like, is that like a little mini bitch? It's so bad, but I did think that was funny. And then she's like, oh, you're good for like Kansas, but like male modeling's really hard and you're gonna have to lose 10 pounds. And Sam's like, you think I'm fat? And she's like, not for Kansas. And he's like, Ohio. And she's like, yeah, you need to lose this weight. And I know she's supposed to be playing like an evil person or like a kind of a villain, but I'm like, Tyra Banks would do this in real life. We've all seen America's Next Top Model.
And we see people reacting to it 10, 15 years later. And
We
it's
were all
sad.
rooting for you. Yeah.
But okay.
Problematic. Icon.
Also, I don't think he's too fat for modeling standards because he is chiseled. Like, I really don't think he is.
No.
I don't think he is either.
And
I
so
did
that's
not like
what's
the.
confusing.
Was it the camera loves starvation? Was that the line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, did not like that.
No. Also, she's like, I like your look. Your eyes are empty like cows.
That was
And then
funny.
she's like, your lips, they're like, he goes, trouty. And she's trouty mouth. So it was, that was funny. But then I was like, wait, do I have empty cow eyes? Because I'm from the Midwest.
My doctor told me the other day I was
That you had cow.
We were like, your eyes look dead. Are you okay?
No, I can't remember what she said. It was something like, you're like encouragingly honest, but the synonym of those two words. And I can't remember what it was. And it was all because of me being from the Midwest.
A lot of times, being of my eyes, a lot of times people think I'm very high when I'm out and I'm just tired. Like, I've had people come to me in the club. They're like, are you okay? What drugs are you on? And I'm like, I'm not even drunk. I'm just tired and I want to go home. Like,
But were you wearing your glasses?
yeah. No, my contacts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a little bit high looking when you like can't focus on the thing.
Yeah. And so I get maybe I have cow eyes.
You have high eyes. You have high eyes. You
I
have
know.
like the sort of like,
You just have like the stoner sunkenness.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what meme we're making for this episode now. So, okay.
Cullen at the club. I'm tired and I just want to go home.
That is a whole mood.
Like literally last time I went, I was like leaving and I was like, I want to be in bed right now. Why am I doing this? I'm like, I guess I already made these plans, so I have to go. But
The worst feeling.
so then they're like, you shouldn't starve yourself. As we all know, Marley passed out during Gangnam Style. They don't bring it up, but okay. But you shouldn't starve yourself. Blaine just brought us a piano as a gift. And Santana is like, no, that means every moment is going to be a sing-along and I can't handle it.
Wait, hold on. Blaine brought the piano.
Yeah.
Yes. I was so confused by
I
this. I was like,
missed that.
how did he get where did he get a piano? Why did he bring it in there?
How can
like
he afford the piano? How does he afford the movers to get it up there?
Where was it on the bus? You know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And at the opening scene?
The real
Yeah.
questions.
He had it in his
Um,
little satchel in pieces. He had to put it
It's a
together.
D&D backup holding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, Santana's like, no. I thought that was funny because she was just like, I can't with you people. You're just going to do this all the time. And then they proceed to sing Just the Way You Are, but not the Bruno Mars song because I already covered that. And they sing it. And then Santana does come out with like a hairbrush as a microphone. And I'm like, Naira Berry, you're such a good actress. Like, you're selling this.
Thought this was the worst.
It was
I literally
horrible.
was like, this covers like 5 circles of hell for me.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
this
I
is
agree with you.
awful.
I really agree with you. That
I
was
could not
not.
hum the tune for you.
I don't know
was-
either.
No. No.
The anti-Billy Joelness in this podcast right now is really hurting.
See, I actually like Billy Joel, so I'm not one of those people, but like I have an issue with their covers sometimes because they're just so like auto-tuned and horrible.
The harmonies in this are kind of strange because they're not in the original song, so it does make the song kind of difficult to recognize if you don't like know the song already. But I felt the same way with the one that Artie sang. I didn't really recognize it at first. It took a while.
Yeah. So then they come back and Sam's like, I'm not going to college. I'm going to be a male model. And Blaine's like, I aced my NIADA audition. And Sue's like, you're too fat to be a model. And Sam's like, I don't care.
Yeah, they recap things that happened off screen for us, as in Blaine's thing, and then off screen for the other characters of the school. And I was like, this wasn't necessary. Also, why didn't we see Blaine's audition?
I mean,
that was a thing that
we
saw I can't watch Piano Man twice.
That's what I was saying. Was like, why did we have to have Piano Man there? Why couldn't he have sang that at his audition? That would have been interesting, maybe.
They couldn't get Carmen Thibodeau.
Yeah, Whoopi was busy.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
So lame.
There's also a great TikTok of someone who bought a skirt with Kurt Hummel's face printed on it. And then they're dancing to his Boy Next Door audition. They're like, my Kurt skirt.
How did that exist? How did that come into existence? Did someone make it or did they sell it?
Etsy makes everything.
Yeah.
I would hope that's where it came from and not it was like an artifact that Fox put out.
So, okay, we have dissected this episode beyond belief. Let's
Tina time. Which we already did.
2 lines.
2 lines.
One of them was gonna be big star.
It was someone said something to her and then she responded with like a 1-word answer.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's do MVPs and LVPs. Rebekah, who is your least valuable player?
Like in the episode?
Yeah.
Ryder.
Yeah. I put Jake and Ryder, and then I was like, leave Marley alone, Chris Crocker. So, reference to leave Brittany alone, in case anyone doesn't understand. Jokes you have to explain are always the best kind of jokes.
Allyssa?
I think I'm probably going to go with Ryder also. He's just so insufferable in this episode.
That's a good word.
That is a good word.
I'm going with Adam's sex, my gender, male. I don't think there was a man that was good in this episode except maybe Blaine. Jake sucked. Ryder sucked. Sam was being racist. Will is always the terrorist. Artie, nosy. Yeah, men.
But Blaine also like didn't stand up for himself and wasn't like, but maybe I do actually want to do something else.
Because he's a love bot, as we have discussed.
He is a love bot
for Kurt. Yeah. So he's a robot. He's not even a human. So that's why it's men.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Checks out.
So Rebekah, who is your MVP?
I don't even know if I have one. Marley's mom, maybe. I think I don't know. I really don't. Like my first instinct was to say Blaine, but that's because I just don't like Rachel at all as a character or a person. So, even though she didn't do anything bad this episode and actually helped someone out, but I just, out of principle, cannot.
Yeah.
So maybe Blaine or Marley's mom.
Or
honestly, Marley maybe too.
I'm trying to think of an inanimate object.
Yeah, right? Like, who did not speak at all?
I am going to go with... I think I'm gonna go with Marley because she had it rough, but she still stuck to her guns. She was like, I'm not gonna give in to all of the pressure. She was put in a very sticky situation with Ryder exclaiming, "Go on date with me, man," in front of the whole class. But she was like, afterwards, she was like, yeah, no, this is not cool. Don't talk to me.
I'm also going with Marley, which is surprising because usually I really, really dislike her, but I just felt not even that she's doing anything really great this episode, but I was so affronted by Ryder and Jake's use of her, like just as an object to argue over, that I'm like, I'm just, you know what? She's definitely my favorite. This just to spit in the face of that particular storyline. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna need to get that clip. That was great.
Yeah, I'm going with Marley just because even though she kind of caved to Ryder, she eventually, like, when she was in a more comfortable situation, was like, no, you know, she's like, hey, I agreed. I went on one date with you. That's all you get, you know? Yeah. This poor girl is really getting help from nowhere.
Yeah. Is she okay? Like 10 years from, so like right now in the Glee universe, do we think she's okay?
No. No.
I hope she's getting therapy.
Well, she would be what?
Our age?
Years younger than us.
Yeah. So
no, she would literally be mining. Oh no, she's a sophomore.
Yeah.
That's right. I keep thinking everyone is the same age because they all are like 35.
Slight spoiler, but not really. Marley does not come back for the finale. Every character really comes back except for like Rory and Marley.
Does she transfer? I keep wanting her to get to transfer.
Yeah, I hope
like
her mom gets a new job at a different school, or at least transfers Marley somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marley's just like, you know what? I'm not coming back.
She has the entire state of Ohio and even parts of Indiana to transfer to because that's how Glee works.
Yep, maps and time and travel. No, doesn't.
And Rory was like, I'm on Celtic Thunder. I'm not dealing with Leah and Michelle again. Bye. So. Okay, songs.
Oh boy, here we go.
We had Moving Out, Piano Man, My Life, Honesty, An Innocent Man, Just the Way You Are, You May Be Right. Rebekah.
That was too fast.
I don't care.
Well, I need to
look at it. I'm like, I don't want to repeat that list. Rebekah, what was your least favorite song?
My least favorite song, if I was just going by song, like as I enjoyed it as music, was Just the Way You Are. My least favorite song in the context of everything, not even that didn't make sense, but Innocent Man, because I hated that.
Yeah, I'm gonna second
public. Yeah,
I'm gonna second that Innocent Man thing. Is that like it's just the context is not great. But I'm gonna go with like in general, just like the sound of it is gonna be Honesty. Artie singing. I didn't even recognize the song for a while. So
I'm gonna go with An Innocent Man because I don't like the context. I don't like Ryder that was singing it. I didn't like how he was singing it to Marley. I didn't like anything about the situation. And Honesty actually kind of reminded me that Artie has a good voice, which we don't, he doesn't get songs a lot. So.
Oh my gosh, this is written by the showrunner of Riverdale.
The episode?
Yeah. Too bad there was no bear. Okay, so my three-way tie for worst song is Honesty, Just the Way You Are, and You May Be Right, because I could not remember anything about them. And we all know that usually I'm the one who like remembers the stuff.
You didn't remember the very last song that was the most
gone.
energetic?
Like it is gone from my brain. Like
That's
I do
intense.
remember that there were high schoolers who weren't in the Glee Club dancing. This is the second time in a row this has happened.
Wait, it happened last week?
Yeah, it happened during Blurred Lines.
Oh,
Everyone was dancing to that.
Well, Mr. Shu just knows how to bring a crowd together.
So, Rebekah, what was your favorite song?
I actually liked My Life, not necessarily the context, but like just his voice and singing it. I didn't hate it. Like I would listen to it again. But I also liked the last one, You May Be Right, just because it was a bop, you know?
Yeah. Jake, I normally have a problem with his voice. I thought it sounded fine.
Yeah.
But it's the context that's really going to prevent it for me.
Sure.
But I chose Moving Out because I thought it was a solid one to start with. Context doesn't make sense, but I was like, you know what? A Blam cover, I'm here for it. But then also honorable mention, You May Be Right.
I think I'm going to go with You May Be Right because I was so incredibly astounded that Mr. Shu was heading up a song that I was like, okay with.
Yeah.
So that was surprisingly fun for me. And My Life is a close second, just because it was kind of fun just to like see them showcasing that actor's abilities, like dance wise. Because we don't really see that a whole ton, but it was not great context wise.
I am going with Moving Out. I love Blaine and Sam. Again, the only friendship on the show that is allegedly all about friendship. And yeah, it was fun. There was kinetic energy. They moved. This is their third moving to New York montage, I think. I don't know if it's the last, honestly. I think there's a couple more.
So my question was, Santana's like, you guys are like always gonna do this with the songs thing.
Yeah.
And that made me think, does that mean Blaine and Sam are gonna move into their apartment and there's gonna be 5 people in this enormous loft with
I think
one
just
bathroom?
Like every time there's a roommate problem, they're just gonna sing. I propose a new roommate agreement, okay?
We're gonna sing.
Anytime there's any argument or anything update, you're like, you guys have to pick a song. It has to be a Glee song. It would only make sense.
I was gonna pull out Your Fault from Into the Woods.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just because when I thought of like conflict.
Because you both can sing it, because you both can be like, so it's your fault, and you can just go back and forth saying that's your fault to each other. It's gonna resolve everything.
That one song is just like every week and a half.
And now you guys are gonna, like, next time you guys have like anything, you're gonna start thinking about it. Well, Cullen's going to, and then listen to like, oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that's the end of this episode. Rebekah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I had fun. Like I said, I thought this was going to be a podcast like with a ton of people that really loved Glee, and I wasn't sure what to expect since I had a lot of issues with a lot of the words.
I'm glad we don't prep people for that, because I bet it's like a fun surprise. Or if I don't know if we've had many people who are like, we love Glee and everything about it.
Even people who like we watched Glee all the time, like they're like, oh yeah,
they're still down to clown with it. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So it's a fun surprise.
Next week. No, first we do social media. Okay. Rebekah, where can people find you and your podcast on social media?
Oh yeah. Okay. I have a podcast. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Pocket Cast and Outcast. I don't think that's one.
Outcast. That's a reference.
It's called Taboo Topics. I'm working on getting it like done on a more consistent basis, but my life is kind of up in the air. But I do have an Instagram It's Taboo Topics Podcast, all one word. It's kind of sensitive though. Like we talk about a lot of dark stuff. That's the whole point of it. So there's trigger warnings posted at the beginning of each episode in case you do check it out because it's not light. So
awesome.
Cool. Interesting. It sounds right up my alley.
Honestly, I'm like really thrilled with how it's turned out so far. I've got a really great feedback about some of the episodes because the whole reason I'm doing it is because people don't talk about these things and I want to normalize these conversations. And I did a whole one on codependency and a lot of people are like had a lot of self-realizations and I'm like, good. However, like it's not the worst, like personality traits of all time. You just have to learn boundaries and things. So
very cool.
Yeah.
You can follow Gleeboot on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at gleeboot.com or gleeboot.com, gleebootpod. And you can also follow us on Tumblr, gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
You can follow me on Instagram at Cullen Ever After, and I should be appearing on Life's But a Song Pod for Glee Season 2. I think that will be out when this ep is out. And I'm not sure if my appearance on Unhinged fan fiction crossovers will be out yet, but there will be 2 episodes with John of Life's But a Song Pod where I will be talking about the best season of Glee, Glee Season 2.
Well, actually, Allyssa and I were on Life's But a Song talking about the best season of Glee, season 3.
Season 3. Yeah. Pretty sure.
This is Bonergate season with Joe. Yeah. Okay. So next
happened on Glee.
Oh Lord.
And it just floods back.
It sounds like the musical Degrassi.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Probably less well written.
Allyssa, what do you want to plug your?
Yes. You can follow me on Instagram at a.m.swearingen. So yeah, lots of art stuff. I'm sorry I haven't been, posting a lot lately. Lots of things have been happening. I have crazy eyes right now. It's fine.
I feel that.
Everything sounds fine.
I believe you. I definitely believe you. And next week, we will be talking about what the most notoriously unhinged episode of Glee, Puppet Master, where there is a gas leak in the choir room. We have someone who has never watched Glee before.
What?
Who does like YouTube videos and TikToks about like superhero movies. And I purposely picked him for this episode, so he will be shocked, appalled, horrified.
So we're going to have to refer to Melissa Benoist's character, Marley, as Supergirl. Probably.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
This school is poorly maintained. That's all I have to say, I think.
That might be one of the most realistic elements of the show, though.
I'm really curious to see how they approach a gas leak. Because
one word, Muppets.
If they don't send all those kids home, I'm gonna go insane.
Same.
Did you just say Muppets?
Yes.
Wait, the Muppets or just like
an
Muppet?
Avenue Q version of Glee, like an Avenue Q epi?
Wait, these kids get high on a gas leak that they don't let the kids go. All right, well, I'm gonna leave so I can process
it
that
now.
Oh my god.
Tune in next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Gleeboot.